Commander Syrath's hands were always covered, ornate silver gloves that extended past her wrists, never removed in the presence of others. Marcus Webb had served aboard her ship for 3 months before he understood why. The Velanthi were touch telepaths. Skin contact meant exposure. Every thought, every emotion, every hidden shame laid bare in an instant. For a species that valued control above all else, touching another being was the ultimate vulnerability. So they didn't. Ever. Webb learned this the hard way when he accidentally brushed against a Velanthi ensign in a crowded corridor. The young alien had recoiled as if burned, and Webb had spent the next 2 hours being lectured by the ship's cultural liaison about appropriate physical boundaries. Now, he was careful. Distant. Professional. Which made his current situation particularly awkward. "Hold still," he said, his hands hovering over Syrath's injured arm. "I need to set this bone before the swelling gets worse. You will not touch me, Commander, with respect. Your arm is broken in 2 places. If I don't set it now, you might lose function permanently." They were trapped in a collapsed section of the ship's lower decks, the result of an ambush that had gone catastrophically wrong. The rest of the crew was either dead or fighting for survival somewhere above them. The medical bay was unreachable, and Syrath's left arm was bent at an angle that made Webb's stomach turn. "I will wait for proper medical attention. There might not be any. We're cut off, Commander." Her amber eyes blazed with something, pain, certainly, but also fear. Real fear, the kind Webb had never seen in her before. "You do not understand what you are asking. I'm asking to save your arm. You are asking me to expose myself, to let you see?" She stopped, jaw clenching. "It is not done. It has never been done. A human and a Velanthi. I know it's not done. But done or not, your arm needs to be set." He met her eyes. "I won't judge whatever I see. I won't tell anyone. I just want to help you." "You cannot promise that. You do not know what you will see." "Then show me." The silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant sounds of battle and the groaning of stressed metal. "You are asking me to trust you," Syrath said finally. "More than I have ever trusted anyone. Yes, why would I do that? Because I'm the only one here. And because Webb hesitated. Because I think you're tired of being alone inside those gloves." Something flickered in her expression. Pained, deworant, recognition, and something else he couldn't name. Slowly, deliberately, she began to remove her left glove. The connection hit Webb like a wave. Images, emotions, memories, not his own, but feeling like his own. He saw Syrath as a child, small and frightened, learning to build walls inside her mind. He saw her first command, the weight of responsibility settling onto shoulders too young to bear it. He saw battles won and lost, friends mourned in silence, a loneliness so vast it made his chest ache. And he saw himself through her eyes. A strange creature, warm-blooded and emotional, who smiled too easily and spoke too freely. Confusing, irritating, and somehow compelling. The visions faded as quickly as they'd come. "Now you know," Syrath said, her voice rough. "Everything I am, everything I hide." Webb blinked, reorienting himself. "I know you're scared," he said. "I know you've been alone for a long time. I know you think vulnerability is weakness. It is. No, it isn't." He took her bare hand in his, a deliberate choice, a conscious connection. Vulnerability is what makes us real. Without it, we're just machines pretending to be alive. She tried to pull away, but he held on. "What are you doing?" "Showing you something." He let himself think about his own life, his own fears, the nightmares that woke him at 300 hours, the failures he'd never forgiven himself for, the loneliness of serving among aliens who saw him as a curiosity at best. He let her see all of it. "You..." Syrath's eyes widened. "You are showing me your weakness. Deliberately. Yes. Why? Because that's what trust looks like. It's not hiding the bad parts. It's sharing them and believing the other person won't use them against you. That is foolish. Anyone could exploit such knowledge. They could. Some people do." He squeezed her hand gently. "But the people who don't, those are the ones worth knowing." Syrath stared at him. "You are very strange, Marcus Webb. I've been told. I do not understand humans. We don't always understand ourselves. That's part of the experience." She almost laughed. A broken sound, mixed with pain from her injured arm. "You should set the bone now," she said. "Before I regain my sanity and stop you. This is going to hurt, I know. Do it anyway." He worked quickly using techniques he'd learned in field medicine training. The bone shifted into place with a sickening crunch, and Syrath made a sound that wasn't quite a scream. "Done," he said. I need to splint it, but the worst is over. The worst. She looked at her bare hand, still resting in his. I am not certain that is true. What do you mean? I mean that I have just shared more of myself with you than I have with any being in 200 years. Her amber eyes met his. That is not something I can undo. Do you want to undo it? The question hung in the air. No, she said finally. I do not think I do. They were trapped for 6 more hours. Webb splinted Syrath's arm, then rigged a distress beacon from salvaged components. They talked while they waited. Real conversation, not the formal exchanges of commander and subordinate. She told him about her homeworld, about the isolation of command, about the exhaustion of maintaining perfect control every moment of every day. He told her about Earth, about family dinners in crowded cities and the chaotic warmth of human connection. You touch each other constantly, she observed. Handshakes, embraces, casual contact. It's how we connect, how we show affection. It must be overwhelming. All those minds, all those emotions, pressing against you constantly. We're not telepaths. We don't feel each other's thoughts. Then how do you know what others are feeling? We guess mostly. Read body language. Listen to tone of voice. Ask questions and hope for honest answers. That seems inefficient. It is. We get it wrong all the time. He smiled. But when we get it right, when we actually connect with someone, really understand them, it means more because we had to work for it. Syrath considered this. Among my people, touch is reserved for bonded pairs. Those who have chosen to share everything with each other, permanently. Like marriage. Similar. But deeper. Once a bond is formed, it cannot be broken. The two become one, in a very literal sense. Is that why you wear the gloves? To avoid accidental bonding? Partly. Also to protect myself from the chaos of other minds. She looked at her bare hand. But with you, there was no chaos. Your thoughts were warm, welcoming. Is that unusual? Very. Human minds are supposed to be chaotic, disordered, overwhelming to Valanthi's senses. She met his eyes. Yours was not. Maybe I'm just boring. No, don't you. You are many things, Marcus Webb, but boring is not among them. A distant explosion shook the corridor. The rescue teams were getting closer. They will find us soon, Syrath said. When they do, things will change. How? You have touched me. Skin to skin, without the protection of gloves. She hesitated. My crew will see my bare hand. They will draw conclusions. What kind of conclusions? The kind that could destroy both our careers. Webb considered this. Do you want me to pretend it didn't happen? That would be the sensible choice. That's not what I asked. Syrath was quiet for a long moment. I was the first human she touched without gloves. She called it courage, she murmured. That is what the stories will say about you. Will they? They will, if I have anything to say about it. She reached out with her uninjured hand, bare now, the other glove removed, and touched his face. You showed me something, Marcus Webb. You showed me that vulnerability is not weakness. That trust is not foolishness. That connection is not contamination. What are you saying? I'm saying that I do not wish to pretend this did not happen. I am saying that I find your mind pleasant, comfortable, like a warm current in cold water. That's surprisingly poetic for a military commander. I have hidden depths. I'm beginning to realize that. The sound of cutting torches grew louder. The rescue teams were almost through. When they breached that wall, Syrath said, I will have to make a choice. Hide what has happened, or acknowledge it. What do you want to do? I want to acknowledge it, but I am afraid. Of what? Of what it means. Of where it leads. Of becoming something I do not recognize. Webb took her hand. Her bare hand, warm and trembling slightly. Change is scary, he said. But staying the same forever, that's scarier. At least to me. Humans, and your endless optimism. It's kept us alive this long. The wall began to give way, light streaming through the widening gap. Very well, Syrath said. Let us see what happens next. The aftermath was everything Syrath had predicted, and nothing like she'd expected. Her crew saw her bare hands. They saw Webb standing beside her. They drew conclusions. Within hours, rumors were spreading through the fleet. The commander had bonded with a human. The impossible had happened. Everything was about to change. The Valanthi High Council demanded an explanation. Syrath gave them one. She had been injured. Webb had provided medical assistance, and the physical contact had been necessary to save her arm. All true. All incomplete. They do not believe you, Webb said, 3 days later. They were in her quarters, the door sealed against interruption. Of course not. The truth is too strange for belief. What is the truth? Syrath turned to face him. She wasn't wearing gloves anymore. Hadn't since the rescue. It was a statement, one that her crew was still trying to interpret. The truth is that I have touched your mind, and I do not wish to stop. Is that a bond? Not yet. A bond requires mutual consent. Time. Deepening connection. Time war. She moved closer, but it could become one. If you were willing. What would that mean? Practically speaking, it would mean sharing. Thoughts, emotions, experiences, not constantly, but regularly. It would mean knowing each other more deeply than any other beings in the universe. That sounds intense. It is. That is why bonds are rare even among Valanthi. Most prefer the safety of separation. And you? I have spent 200 years in the safety of separation. Her amber eyes held his. I am tired of safety. Webb reached out and took her hand. The connection was gentler this time. Not a wave but a current, warm and steady. He felt her presence in his mind like a familiar voice, like coming home to a place he'd never been. This is what it could be, she said. If you choose it, and if I don't, then we return to what we were, commander and subordinate, separate minds and separate bodies. She paused. I would not force this on you, Marcus. I would not even ask, except that you touched me first. You showed me what trust could feel like. You're asking if I want to bond with you. I am asking if you're willing to try. A bond formed slowly. We would have time to decide if it is right. Webb looked at their joined hands. Back on Earth, he said, we have this concept. Dating. Two people spend time together, get to know each other, decide if they want to be something more. This is similar, yes. And if we decide we don't fit, then we part. With more knowledge of each other but no permanent connection. She squeezed his hand. There is risk. There is always risk. But the alternative is never knowing what might have been. You're asking me to be brave. I'm asking you to be human. Is that not the same thing? Webb laughed. Sometimes. Not always. He met her eyes. Yes. I'm willing to try. The relief in her expression was subtle, but unmistakable. Thank you, Marcus Webb. Don't thank me yet. I'm told I'm difficult to live with. I've been inside your mind. I'm aware. And you still want to do this. I have been inside your mind, she repeated. I know exactly what you are. And yes, I still want to do this. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. The connection deepened, two minds touching at the edges, learning the shape of each other. It was strange. It was wonderful. It was nothing like anything Webb had experienced before. I was the first human she touched without gloves, he murmured. What does that make me? Courageous, she replied. Foolish. Mine died. Yours, if you will have me. I will. The bond began to form. Slowly, gently. Two separate beings choosing to become something more. It would take time. It would take effort. It would change both of them in ways they couldn't predict. But for the first time in 200 years, Syrath wasn't alone. And for the first time in his life, neither was Marcus Webb.